As the recent war between Russia and Georgia shows, the aftershocks of the Soviet Union's collapse are still being felt today. 15 years ago, trouble flared when two parts of Georgia, itself newly independent, tried to break away. War followed and entire communities were uprooted. Today, over 200,000 refugees live in political limbo.
I remember the town, sea, Black Sea, of course. I was 12. ძალიან მტკივა გული ამაზე. დედა ჩემიც ამის გამო დაავადდა, ფაქტიურად რო თქვა. და აბსოლუტურად შეიცვალა ჩვენი სამყარო, აბსოლუტურად. აი 180 გრადუსით რო შეიძლება ითქვას, ჩვენი ცხოვრება შეცვალა აფხაზეთიდან ჩვენმა დევნილობამ.
Nino and her mother once lived in Sukhumi, the capital of Georgia's breakaway republic of Abkhazia. Now faded, this lush seaside town was once the favored getaway of the Soviet elite, back when Georgia was part of the USSR. Joseph Stalin even had a vacation home here. But for ethnic Georgians like Nino and her mother, this idyllic life changed forever one day in 1993. The Abkhaz tried to break away, and Georgia responded with force. The resulting war was bloody and brutal, with neighbor turning on neighbor and accusations of ethnic cleansing on both sides. Now, Nino and her mother are refugees in their own country. They live in an abandoned Soviet tea plantation, just 5 miles from the ceasefire line that separates Abkhazia from the rest of Georgia. Ezok, Ari, Sakhlin, Avejiginda, Turaginda, Olaperi, Wipoda, Rapeli Aramax, Akatsro Dajdes, Kamiaramax. Rogoramski Waguli, Gorarmetkin Baguli, Tarogorari Nebacheminer baby, mostly. Ram Razara Perunda, Kideram de Hansel Gabzeli. About 200,000 ethnic Georgians were purged by the Abkhaz during the war of the 1990s. The majority now live in squalid conditions in settlements like this one, in an abandoned factory. With no electricity, the hallways are dark and dreary. The small rooms are austere, hot in the summer, cold in the winter. Raw sewage bubbles up from the ground behind a reeking line of outhouses. Residents here, all 300 of them, share one small bathroom for washing.
Ничего здесь нету. У нас элементарно вода тоже нету. Воды нету. Очень хорошая вода. Многие заболели сейчас за воды. Нету.
Even though it has been 15 years since the war, no long-term living arrangements have ever been made for the refugees by the Georgian government. Critics say the refugees are being used as political pawns in peace negotiations, with the government keeping them in limbo, awaiting return.
და იყოს მარტო მშვიდობა, იყოს დაბრუნება ჩვენი. 15 წელია დღეს ხვალ და როგორ იმაში ვარ პირობებში.
Georgia has long made the return of refugees a precondition for any talks with the Abkhaz. But in Sukhumi there is anger too, against the Georgians for what the Abkhaz feel were acts of ethnic war against them.
It was an ordinary day like this, when Georgian army just entered the city and started shooting. Just behind us, it was an Abkhaz archive, and it was completely burnt. All documents about Abkhaz history were just destroyed.
And so the Abkhaz say the complete return of Georgian refugees is a concession they cannot make.
It's a very hard issue, the refugees issue. I know that I feel very sorry about many innocent people who were victims of the war, and who had to flee, and now they live somewhere in the middle. And I understand we have to resolve the issue, but refugee issue were never resolved anywhere in the world.
Any Any hopes of a solution to the refugee issue now seem dashed in the wake of this August's war in Georgia. Because there is another player here, Russia, which has now announced its full recognition of Abkhazia's independence, complete with military backing. In many ways, Abkhazia already feels like a part of Russia. 80% of the people here hold Russian citizenship and Russian passports. In the market, you can buy almost anything you want, but you must pay in rubles. Most of the elderly here receive monthly pensions from Moscow.
А Россия нам, дай Бог здоровья Путину, он нам 2000 дал пенсию, 200 долларов. Да, если не Путин, то, конечно, нам вообще.
With Russia's support, Abkhazia feels no need to talk. Since August, diplomatic channels with Georgia have broken down.
აფხაზები რა არის, აფხაზები არაფერი არ არიან, რუსებია ყველაფერს ასაკეთებს. ყველაფერს რას ასაკეთებს რუსებია. აფხაზები რის გამკეთებელი არიან? მე თვითონ პარში ცხოვრობდი და არ ვიცი როგორი აფხაზები. ისინი არიან რუსების ზურგით.
თავისთავად ახლა როდესაც კონფლიქტი არსებობს, მაშინ ყოველთვის თუ არსებობს ხო ხილავი მტერი, ყოველთვის შეეცდება რომ შენი კონფლიქტი გამოიყენოს თავის სასარგებლოდ. და მე მგონი ზუსტად რუსეთის სტრატეგიაც ეს გახდა აფხაზეთთან მიმართებაში და ოსეთთან მიმართებაშიც. მარტო აფხაზეთთან არა, რა თქმა უნდა, ოსეთიც ჩვენი ტკივილია ასევე. მიუხედავად იმისა, რომ მე ოსეთიდან არ ვარ, მაგრამ აშკარად ჩანს ეს ყველაფერი ისე აშკარად, რომ არ შეიძლება ამაზე თვალის დახვიჭვა.
In the wake of this summer's war, Nino and the tens of thousands like her who fled from Abkhazia have been joined by an estimated 150,000 newly displaced Georgians from South Ossetia. None of these refugees from either war can expect to go home anytime soon.